The Richard Roeper Show is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios. The digital landscape is changing rapidly, and to compete in today's online business environment, you need that experienced partner. Since 1995, AmericanEagle.com has partnered with companies of all sizes, offering web design, web development, e-commerce, mobile apps, and digital marketing. All of this to drive your overall business's success, because they believe that today's online world is your online opportunity. Visit AmericanEagle.com to get started today. AmericanEagle.com. That is AmericanEagle.com. And I'm actually in the AmericanEagle.com studios today as I greet all my friends and followers and colleagues here on the podcast. Sometimes I do the podcast from home, but I like to drop in. The studios are so cool here. So let's get right to it. Okay, first of all, we had the Oscars earlier this week, obviously on Sunday. I filled out my ballot, and we had an all-time record for the Beat the Critic contest that I do at my home newspaper, the Chicago Sun-Times. Record number of entrants. The way it works is I fill out my ballot, then you fill out your ballot, and then among the more than one people who beat me, whoever beats the critic, we pick one winner who gets to bring a bunch of friends to an advanced screening of a film, and you get free food and drinks. Last year, the winners got to see A Complete Unknown about a month before it hit theaters, and that was really cool. This year, it was really easy to beat the critic because I sucked. I think it was I don't know the exact number, but I think it might have been my lowest tally of all time. I think I got like 15 right and 8 wrong. I got all the small that's where you got to win the categories for, documentary short and animation short and all that. I got all those wrong. My experts in the field that I rely upon all gave me the wrong picks, although I make them myself, so it's all on me. And then the ones where I went for the upset, it didn't happen. And then the upsets I didn't predict, for example, Mikey Madison. So anyway, you can go on suntimes.com and laugh at my ballot if you want. Thanks to everybody who entered the contest. Just updating some other things here. We got the ratings now for the Oscars. The ratings did drop about 8% to 18 million viewers. Now, that's the first year-to-year decline for the ABC telecast since 2021. Obviously, during the pandemic, when movie going dipped, in a huge way because almost all the theaters were closed and the only box office was really through online purchases. So the Oscars themselves, of course, we had a couple of truncated, stripped down Oscar telecasts, but the numbers have been going up, just like the box office numbers have been going up in recent years. But this year, the average audience was 18 million. Still a big number when people say, oh, nobody watches the Oscars anymore. It's like, listen, there are huge hit series, especially like some of the limited series that get all the buzz in the world. And if they get 3 or 4 million viewers in real time, and then they'll get more through, on demand and recordings and streaming, this and there and all that kind of shit. It's like, sometimes it's impossible. It's like, this is FX on Hulu streaming via Disney Plus with the help of ABC.com. But 18 million viewers in real time, again, really, you're not going to see that other than for live sporting events, which will get huge numbers and continue to do so, whether it's especially NFL football, but other sports as well. So 18 million viewers is still a big number, but it was 19.5 million viewers last year. That is, I think, pretty easily explained. Last year, we had the Barbenheimer phenomenon where two blockbusters accounted for $2.3 billion with a B dollars in combined box office receipts, Oppenheimer and Barbie, but also had all sorts of nominations. So they were, a huge factor. This year we went back, and this is not the first year this has happened, but the majority of this year's Oscar contenders were not box office hits. I mean, obviously Wicked Part 1 was a big hit. Dune Part 2 did very good box office, and some other films did well. A Complete Unknown did pretty well, but nothing on the level of Barbie or Oppenheimer. And then you had films like such as Anora, which ended up being the big winner. Best Picture, 4 other trophies. Sean Baker setting the all-time record with 4 Oscars in one evening. Only Walt Disney had done that before, and that's because he had his name on 4 different films. But, not a lot of people have seen Anora. You should. It was number 2 on my list of the best pictures of last year. I didn't think it was going to win on this level. and even The Brutalist, which Adrian Brody went for, and Amelia Perez, which got a lot of buzz and a lot of controversy, but was it's done its share. But again, it's a niche film. So when you don't have, I talk to a lot of people who are like, I don't know what Nickel Boys is. I haven't seen Sing Sing. I don't know what Honora is about. And these are people who love movies because they were smaller films. So if you don't have a vested interest in the movies, you're maybe not going to watch the telecast. And we also had a near record number of first-time nominees. So again, Adrian Brody has won before. People certainly know who Timothée Chalamet is. He's a big star. Edward Norton's been around for a long time. But you also had, and Demi Moore was very cool that she was nominated, but you had a lot of stars of these films who haven't had huge movie careers. Even Kieran Culkin, who's very well known, and we know him from Succession, and we know him from being a child actor. A Real Pain, that was a showcase role. And he's done some other fine film roles, but it's not like other years when we have, megastars. Megastar is a different thing. You could be a megastar and a megastar, but that's not a huge overlap. Megastar. Someone's going to use that now. He's a megastar. Randy Quaid is a megastar. So that kind of explains it. I will say this. I want to, just as we look forward to next year, and I believe the Academy should follow all my suggestions, even though they don't. I think it was a good idea to move the start time up to 4 p.m. LA time. And Conan O'Brien said, geez, it's like midday here. 6 p.m. and where I am in Chicago, 7 p.m. in New York City, et cetera, et cetera. But they almost kind of took that as a license to let the show go on forever. It wasn't the longest Oscar telecast ever, but it dragged. There's no doubt about that. The longest ever, I believe, was 2002. Whoopi Goldberg hosted. It was close to 4.5 hours. I was at that Oscars backstage where all the press are. I say backstage, it's really the hotel that's adjacent to the theater. You kind of go down long corridors and stuff, and you're Oscars adjacent. You're not actually in the audience because you're not in the Academy. You're covering stuff. But I do remember that going on forever and ever. And, this year they started off with the musical montage. They're beautiful singers. But geez, man, talk about, it's like a free advertisement for Wicked Part 2. I mean, it was everything they sang was from either The Wizard of Oz or The Wiz or Wicked. And then we had the James Bond, the tribute to the producers, which was cool. But, they already did a tribute to the James Bond songs 10 years ago. So now you had this long interlude, and you're like, okay, we're not going to do the performances of the nominated songs, but we are going to do this long James Bond medley and other things that dragged it out. So I say, once again, God bless the winners in what we call the lesser known categories. I think they should strip that down and give them away the day before, or just announce the winners. They've tried to do some things with that. The 23 categories that are still really just 10 or 12 that people care about. That's going to make the show at least 2.5 hours. And then, they also, last year they had the thing where a bunch of winners in each category came out there and paid tribute to this year's nominees. This year they had the winner from last year speak about the 5 nominees in some of the most overwrought, ridiculously overblown, self-centered writing I've ever seen in any format whatsoever, where they were talking about these performances and it made it sound as if these people had discovered the cure for all diseases. And I'm like, listen, I'm a big fan of the performances, but it was ridiculous to hear these, and they went on and on forever. So drop that shit. Maybe shorten the number of categories. If not, you're going to have the same problems over and over again that you've had with the Oscars, where it's not the greatest television show of all time. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. Want to talk about a couple of other things here before we get to some reviews as well. Oh, I wanted to mention Armie Hammer. You know Armie Hammer, right? He played the Winklevi guys in The Social Network. I think he was the Lone Ranger. Call Me by Your Name. Armie Hammer really needs to shut up. That's my take for today on Armie Hammer. Of course, he got involved in one of the most bizarre controversies and scandals we've ever seen, because we learned about all these strange, his proclivities, if you will, and cannibalistic fetish, although he just did a little late biting, I guess. And unfortunately, not great treatment of people. He was never charged with anything, but he was kind of canceled because of all these texts that surfaced. He didn't do himself any favors. Now he's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast, even me. So he's got this podcast, Armie Hammer Time, it's called. Get it? Hammer Time? Can't touch this. And in his recent podcast, Armie Hammer said that he tried hooking up with a dude one time, and it was hilarious because I was like, you know what? Like, women are the worst. Okay, Armie, really? I'm quoting from stories quoting the podcast. Gay dudes seem to have it so easy, like so easy, Hammer said. Like, I'm at a restaurant, my phone blows up, it's like Grindr, and someone else is like, I'm at the same restaurant, do you want in the bathroom? And I'm like, hey guys, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And it's, so I thought, I'm going to give this a try. Maybe this actually works for me. I don't know, his twisted worldview, somehow he thinks that it's easier to, if you're a gay guy, because you can hook up. I guess that's what he's saying. So he tries to hook up with a guy. Armie Hammer says, he goes, I put my arms around him and I was like, oh my God, these shoulders are so wide. He's so big. Physically, it did nothing for me, not even a twitch. So he has, I guess, given up that flight of stupidity. So I don't know. This guy, he has, unfortunately, some really warped views of relationships and how to treat other people. But you come to a certain point where, and the guy's starting to get roles again. And you listen, other than, certain cases where people committed actual crimes and they paid for their crimes. Let's face it, there are a lot of times where people have been allowed to come back, even after they've said terrible things and done terrible things. Mel Gibson is, it's 10 years past all of his problems and things that were caught on tape and horrible things he said, and he's working. So Armie Hammer's working again. Listen, the guy I thought was going to become a tremendous, huge movie star, Ryan Gosling level, Timothée Chalamet level, who he was in a movie with, of course, because he is, strikingly handsome and very talented. Plays a certain kind of guy better than other roles. But, he had that kind of 1950s movie star appeal, and he screwed that all up. Now he's finding work again. But, this podcast, and listen, there are a million podcasts out there, and some of them are really cool. We've talked about this. It's like I come from traditional radio, and it's a little crazy to see that everybody decided they wanted to do a podcast. Some of them are really good, and a lot of celebrities love doing it, and they like talking to each other and sharing stories, and some are really, really interesting, and some of them probably shouldn't be doing podcasts because they have no idea how to really weave a story or conduct an interview or learn about the benefits of not going on for 3 hours, which is why we try to keep ours to like a half hour every time. But in the case of Armie Hammer, I'm thinking maybe it's not a good idea for you to have a podcast, dude. Maybe shut up, say your apologies, continue to try to make amends and make things right, and go back to acting, because this is not helping. All right, you know what is helping? A heaping helping of whatever you can get at Portillo's, and they've got it all. Let's talk about that on the other side. A couple of reviews for you. All right, let's talk a little bit about Portillo's. They're known, of course, for their famous Chicago hot dogs with all the freshest and tastiest ingredients, right down to that famous poppy seed bun. Then we have to talk about the legendary chocolate cake. And everybody knows if you've ever been to Portillo's, but if you don't, you never put the cake in the fridge. You have to have it at room temperature. That's how it's delivered to you or handed to you in the restaurant. That's the way you have to taste it. And of course, the menu has everything from the charbroiled burger to Italian beef to some really good chopped salads. But that chocolate cake, I'm telling you. Now, there are locations throughout the Midwest and in Florida, California, and Arizona. But you can also ship Portillo's anywhere in the United States of America by ordering at portillos.com. That's PORTILLOS.com. PORTILLOS.com.
That's it. Mickey, deep breaths, fill your lungs. Imagine there's an unknown virus in the air,
and you're sucking in every single microscopic particle floating around.
All the viruses.
So good?
There really was an unknown virus in the air. Lethal one.
See you tomorrow.
I got a job to do.
Mickey Barnes, fighting right to the end.
My great gift to mankind.
Are you afraid to die?
This time I wasn't scared.
Okay, that's a little audio from Mickey 17, writer, director, producer Bong Joon-ho's first film since the multiple Oscar-winning Parasite in 2019. Mickey 17, I'm giving it 3 stars. It's too long. It hammers home its points, but it's also, I will say this, one of the most batshit bonkers movies I've seen in recent years. It's got some crazy big ideas, some really amazing visuals combining practical effects and definitely some cool VFX, and certainly timely. And we'll get into that in a second. I wanted to start off by saying that Robert Pattinson, by the way, plays Mickey 17, the title character. It's based on a book that I believe is called Mickey 7. So this is an adaptation. But I wanted to start off by, guys, talking about how impressive it has been what Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson have done with their careers after co-starring in the Twilight franchise. The franchise grossed $3.36 billion. Couple films, especially the first one, they were pretty strong, actually, because they had some legit horror going on there. And obviously, they're great-looking films with great-looking people. But, let's face it, fuck Twilight movies, And sometimes if you're in a huge franchise like that, and and they were a couple in real life. I think, remember Donald Trump commented at one point about their relationship on Twitter. But, there's a chance that you can get typecast then, like, oh, they're just, great looking people who are in this big giant franchise. And in both cases, first of all, they're both good actors and they'd done good stuff before that. Kristen Stewart, by the way, if you go all the way back to Panic Room, she's the little girl, the daughter in Panic Room. But in both cases, they decided that they were going to alternate between doing big budget action movies and other franchise types films and independent fare. So, you see Kristen Stewart doing all kinds of independent stuff. And she was even nominated for Best Actress for Spencer. And then Pattinson, he did Tenet, he did The Lighthouse, and now he's the Batman. And he's done some other things. They haven't all been great, but he really, again, could have gone an easier route. And instead they decided in both cases, they're going to really, work at their craft and sometimes take supporting roles, sometimes take lead roles, sometimes do indie films. Very cool on both parts. So Mickey 17, this is a role Robert Pattinson gives a dual performances. This is an action comedy. It's almost like a live action Looney Tunes cartoon mixed with sci-fi, elevated thought, and then just really weird comedy. It's kind of a role that Robin Williams or Jim Carrey or Eddie Murphy might have played, or Jerry Lewis way back in the day. Sorry. So this is what we call the main character keeps dying genre. It's as we saw in Groundhog Day. Remember, there's a moment where Bill Murray's character actually rattles off all the ways he's died. Or Edge of Tomorrow, Happy Death Day, and the TV series Russian Doll. They all have the same kind of basic premise where somebody keeps dying and they're aware of it, but they got to try to break the pattern. This is a little bit of a different take. Okay, so this is set 30 years in the future. Pattinson plays Mickey Barnes. Now, he is basically signed up to be a human crash test dummy on a faraway planet where a charismatic leader he's played by Mark Ruffalo, and he's basically a cross between Trump and Elon. His followers wear red hats and are devoted to him, but he's got this dream of colonizing a distant planet. So Pattinson, he's on the run from a loan shark. Mickey Barnes, his character, wants to leave what looks to be a dying planet, signs up for this job where he's a human crash test dummy. As I say, they keep exposing him to different poisons and toxic things and accidents so that they can develop antigens and come up with vaccines. And then every time Mickey dies, they put him through a biological 3D printer, and he's recycled as Mickey 3, Mickey 4, Mickey 5. And he's the same guy. Sometimes he has slightly different personalities, and they have a way of actually reprogramming his memories and experiences. So he's Mickey 17. And then things go sideways when they think Mickey 17 has died and they print out a new Mickey 18. And now we have a Mickey 17 and a Mickey 18, which is against the law. You can't have multiples. Each one of them could be killed. Mickey 18 is a lot more vicious and cynical and calculating than Mickey 17. So Robert Pattinson has this dual performance playing these two characters on this distant planet, which is frozen and barren and has these creatures known as creepers who could be good. We don't know. Maybe they're evil. And if it all sounds a little bit crazy and convoluted, that's because it is. So we get a lot of messaging about, class warfare and the dangers of blindly following a leader anywhere, literally anywhere. And, how the haves and the have-nots, no matter, even when we start all over again, it goes back to the same kind of thing because you've got, the rich and privileged who are still having a great life, even on the spaceship thingy that's takes about a 4-year journey to get to this planet. And then you got Mickey, who's literally dying and then being recycled and subject to all sorts of torture in the name of the rich people getting their way. So it's not great. It's too long, as I mentioned, but it's darkly funny at times. It's got terrific performances, especially from Robert Pattinson. And it's definitely something you want to see on the big screen. And I want to mention this real fast, too. I saw Mickey 17 in Chicago the week before it opened at a screening that they call a combination press public screening, which means members of the press, critics, content providers, influencers, and then they give away tickets. And as I've told you guys in the past, you win tickets or you sign up for tickets or you get them through your movie club or whatever. So when I arrived at the AMC New City Theater in Chicago for the screening, and yes, of course, they reserved my seat, which is really nice, so I don't have to get there. But when I got there, like 15 minutes before the movie was about to start, there were like 300 people waiting in line for a chance to get one of the 100 or so available seats. And I loved seeing that. I loved seeing the excitement with moviegoers, and they were giving away T-shirts and posters and all that great promotional stuff. And then when we got in there, I got my seat in press row, and the theater starts filling up, and security's there making sure everybody turns off their phones and tell them, please, respect the film and all that good stuff. And there was a moment about 90 minutes into the movie where I just kind of took a moment to soak in the atmosphere of the crowd itself. Every single seat in the theater was filled. Front row, last row, you name it. And every single person in that theater, they had their head, especially if you're sitting in the front, your head's kind of raised up, looking at the screen. It looked like one of those photos from Life magazine, like in the 50s when they showed everybody, watching the movies, or even before that, like the thrill of going to the movies. Nobody took their phone out. Nobody was talking. I don't know if I saw anybody even get up and go to the bathroom. Maybe one or two people. It was a 2-hour plus movie. Nobody's rattling wrappers or doing anything. And I was like, this is why we still, I know I sound like Nicole Kidman now, right? But this is why we go to the movies, guys. This is why it's still so cool to see films with people in a theater. Beautiful projection and great sound. And I just thought, man, this is awesome. I started going to movies when I was a kid like everybody else, but really started becoming a huge movie fan by the time I was a teenager, and I was going to see movies like Jaws and The Exorcist and Saturday Night Fever and Rocky and Star Wars, such a great era for movies. And The Godfather, of course, which I saw a little bit after it came out because I was pretty young when it came out, and Taxi Driver. I mean, those experiences stay with you forever. And even though I've been doing this job for like half my life now, I still love that experience, especially when everybody really is into it. So 3 stars for Mickey 17, but 4 stars for the crowd that saw it at the advanced screening. I also want to mention a series on Netflix called Running Point, which I kind of liked. Also kind of a 3-star thing. This has been out for about a week, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it when it first came out.
I work in a family business, the greatest basketball franchise in the history of the game, the Los Angeles Waves. And this is the story of the fucked up family that runs it.
Isla, I am making you the president of the Waves.
When I was a little girl, Daddy never believed in me, and I started to doubt myself.
I need you to stop because I don't care about any of that shit. We're a
family. Sis, we got your back, no matter what people say.
What are they saying?
It's just the fact that you're a Nepo baby and you don't know what you're doing, but you're old, so it's like you're like a Nepo crone.
Oh my God.
Don't go on Reddit unless you want to kill yourself.
Owners conference is tomorrow. How you feeling?
Might have a Zanny on the plane.
It's a 45-minute flight.
This is the Netflix comedy series where Kate Hudson plays the newly appointed president of a fictional pro basketball franchise. It's clearly inspired and somewhat based on the life and times of LA Lakers president and co-owner Jeannie Buss, who was actually an executive producer on this series. This is pure fiction. It's more of a workplace comedy because it's all about the front office. Than it is a sports film. It's not like the Winning Time series. There's a little bit of basketball, but it's mostly about the comedy. And among the producers of this are Mindy Kaling and Ike Barinholtz. I think they did some writing on it as well. Kate Hudson is just so good, too. She's in that zone where this is just a great role for her, where she plays somebody. Her three brothers her dad was the owner of the franchise, much like Dr. Jerry Buss. He was a playboy. He was a great owner. But, loved the life, lived the life, if you will. Now, in the fictional series, the dad is gone. The three brothers are kind of in charge of things, but then through a variety of circumstances, Kate Hudson's character is now in charge. And so it's all about the behind the scenes machinations. It's more of it's kind of Succession because you got the sister and the three brothers, but it's more in the vein of Ted Lasso, not quite as memorable as Ted Lasso, but still good stuff. It's called Running Point on Netflix. Check it out. I think we're going to end on that note. Next week, we got a bunch of cool stuff to talk about and more reviews. I'm Richard Roeper. Thanks for listening to the podcast.